If you clicked on this video, you're probably a hobby interior designer like me who is always looking for ways to take their designs to the next level. One tool I turn to time and time again is SketchUp. It's a free-to-use CAD tool that helps me visualize floor plan changes, envision new designs, and communicate my plans to other people. I want to show you how I use SketchUp to make my interior design dreams come true, and I promise it's easier than you think. This is a two-part video where I will first go through the absolute basics of SketchUp, how to draw a line, a circle, and that kind of thing. And then next week, I'll walk you through a complete start-to-finish design project with multiple variations. So if you're ready to learn, let's download SketchUp and get started. Otherwise, if you're from the future and need a bit more convincing, maybe start on part 2 for a deep dive into just how powerful this tool can be, and then come back to learn how. That's enough chit chat, let's get right into it. Alright, so when we begin a new SketchUp drawing, we start with this blank slate with this cute little banjo man with some dinosaurs on his shirt and these 3 colored lines, green, red, and blue. So these lines are one of the most important features of SketchUp, and these are your axes. So you can imagine the green is a north-south, the red is an east-west, and the blue is kind of an up-down. These colors help put things in perspective. When you're drawing a line, that line will normally turn blue, green, or red to help identify what direction you're drawing in. So the most important toolbar here is on the left-hand side of the screen, and I want to walk you through the important tools that I use. There's just a few of them, and they're fairly basic and straightforward, and it's all you need to get started in designing some interiors. Okay, so the toolbar is located on the left-hand side of the screen. Let's start with my absolute number 1, which is the line. And when you click on it, you'll see some sub-tools that show up, but let's just select the pencil for now. To begin a line, you'll need to pick a starting point, so I'm going to click here on the origin. And then all you need is a direction and a length. Your direction will typically be one of the 3 axes, and you can see that the line likes to snap to them and will even match up to the same color. I'm going to draw in the direction of the green axis. And for length, you can either click wherever you want, or you can actually type a specific length in the bottom right-hand corner. So I'm going to go straight to my keyboard and type 15 feet, and then click enter. And there you go. Now I have a line that's 15 feet in the green direction. So let's follow this methodology and make ourselves a rectangle. So I'm going to go along the red axis from here and type in 20 feet. And that gets me to the far corner. And now just to bring it back along the green axis, again 15, and then 20 back to home. And now I've made a rectangle. And you can see that once a space is enclosed, it becomes a surface. So it's no longer see-through, it's no longer a collection of lines, but it's an actual shape with substance. One thing to note is that you can also draw a rectangle using this button over here, and it functions very similarly to a line. Under that same menu, you will also find the button for a circle, so let's look at that really quick. Computer programs like SketchUp draw circles not as a true circle, but rather a number of sides, so like a hexagon or an octagon. You can actually zoom in here and see each line. It even snaps to some of the points. So this circle looks like it has 6 per quarter, so 24 sides total. Storing circles like this saves computer resources and makes your project quicker to navigate. It also has its conveniences for interior design. For example, making a staircase is really easy. I can just drag from these points and there you go, circular staircase. So to set the number of sides, you have to define it before you first touch down on your circle. So you can see at the bottom right-hand corner, it's 24 now, but if I go to my keyboard and type in a new number, I can redefine the sides. And now I have a 10-sided circle, which really does not look like a circle anymore. Using circles in CAD programs like SketchUp is mostly about balancing this trade-off. More sides makes the program run slower, less sides starts to look less like a circle. So honestly, I just use the default normally, which is 24 sides, and that works for almost everything except for a spiral staircase like I showed. The only other thing to know about circles is choosing a radius. So you can either snap to a point, so right here it's highlighting the midpoint of the line, which I'm going to click on, or again, just like a line, you can type the radius that you want in the bottom right hand corner and then hit enter. The next thing I want to talk about is selection. So we have a rectangle and a circle, and let's say this is one big room combined together. There's some lines here in the middle that I want to take out to make it all one shape. So I'm going to go over to this mouse button, which is my select, and then I can highlight across all of these lines, and you see they show up in blue. Now you can also click on different things. You can hold shift to add to your selection or remove from your selection. You see that this little plus minus shows up right beside my mouse to show that I'm holding shift. But once I have everything selected, just the lines, I don't want the inside selected like that, just the lines, I can simply hit delete, and there, now they're gone and I have one big shape, one big room. Alright, so next we are going to learn how to move this little room that we have going. And I'm going to start by selecting everything that I have. And as an aside, this cute little banjo man here is just another object on the field, so we can move or delete him too. But your axes, the blue, green, and red lines, they will never move. They are absolutely fixed. So I'm going to grab this compass looking icon on the left toolbar and then just click and drag my selection to reposition it. It's as easy as that. And I can move it left, right, north, south, up, down. You can kind of get a feel for it as you pan around where exactly it's going to. But yeah, it's just as easy as that. And to pan around like I am, there is a center button on my mouse just below the scroll wheel. I'll throw up a picture of my mouse here. But I would spend some time in the settings to figure out how you can put this button in. It's really helpful to kind of orbit the camera around and really see where things are in three-dimensional space a little easier. So this is all good, and you can see the same types of things popping up, so I can snap to certain places on the field like the origin, and I can define a distance in the same way at the bottom right. So in a combination I can go in the green direction 5 feet and then in the red direction 8 feet, and that can help me get more specific about where I'm trying to move this object to. But the other way to go about locating something more specifically is using this tape measure feature, which is honestly my favorite and something I use quite a lot. And what the tape measure essentially does is it puts reference lines down on the map to help you specify distances, locations, that kind of thing. So I've just dropped this line and you can see it almost becomes like a new axis. I can snap to it and it references that line as a place to drop things. So this is interesting because now I can start to make locations where I can snap this precisely in the field. So let me draw another line, and again what you do is take a parallel line, click on it, and then drag outward. So let me go 10 feet off the green axis, again typing in the bottom corner, and let's say 25 feet off the right axis. And now I've created a very specific crosshairs in three-dimensional space, so I can grab the corner of my room and snap it exactly to that intersection. And then I can just clean up those reference lines by selecting and deleting, and there you go, a room right where I want it. And the tape measure is really interesting for a variety of reasons. So let's say I wanted to add a wall perfectly in the middle of this rectangle. So what I'm going to do is pull off of the side here, and I'm going to look for the midpoint, which is a location, you can see it's highlighting it there, that I can snap to that top wall. And now I've found the center point of that room and I can build off of it. So I know that interior walls are 4.5 feet, so that's going to be 2.25 inches in either direction. So I can pull out that line, type 2.25. Now grabbing my line tool, I'm going to draw on either side of this shape. go back and clean up my reference lines, and now I have a perfectly centered 4.5-inch deep wall right in the middle of my room. Easy as that. I can do the exact same thing to cut a door, let's say right in the middle here of my wall. So grabbing the measuring tape again, go to the center. I know that doors are about 3 feet wide, so that's 1.5 feet in either direction, 1.5, 1.5. Again, going back, grabbing the line tool, slapping it on either side of that door, and then selecting and deleting anything I don't want. So that's the reference lines, and then cutting open that door there. Perfect. The measuring tape is how I start to sketch in furniture too. So let's say I want to add some kind of sideboard table off of here. I want it to be maybe 6 inches from the back wall and 2 feet from either side here. So just typing that in, and maybe it's 18, oh, not that, 10 feet, not that, 10 inches. Let's call it 10 inches deep. So blocking that in there, and voila, I've kind of sketched out my rectangle. So let's go in and grab the pencil again, charting that out from point to point. Going back to clean up the reference lines, and there you go. I've just put in an awesome looking table. This is even handy for building furniture. So you can see I have this measuring tape saying 5'9 3/4. So if I wanted my table to look exactly like this, and I knew I was going to build it myself out of like a 2x10 or something, I could cut it to the perfect length and the perfect size just for what I wanted. So that's an interesting idea too. Alright, and those are all the tools you really need for two-dimensional planning. We've talked about lines and rectangles, circles, moving things, selecting things, and reference lines, and that can honestly get you pretty darn far. I've done entire floor plans in 2 dimensions just like this. And if you're looking to move into 3 dimensions, you only need one more tool, and that's called the push-pull tool here, or I also call it the Extrude tool. And what that does is it drags surfaces up into a different dimension. So let's look at this table here that we have, and let's click on the Extrude push-pull tool and bring it up to a new height. And as with any SketchUp tool, I hope you're getting the picture. You can drag it to anything you want. You can snap it to different lines, reference lines, the origin. I can make this 10 feet tall if I wanted, or I can define a height, let's say 2.5 feet, and click enter. I can also go around and make my walls 8 feet tall, so just dragging on what I had there, typing in 8 feet, and there you go. Now I actually have my doorway here. I can go through it, I can pan and look around at my table, and all of a sudden, all of this stuff starts to make a lot more sense visually. You can actually see the room coming together, which is super cool. Let's throw in one more object just for fun. Let's say I want to put a circular table right in the middle of this circular section of my room. So I'm going to chart out the exact middle, go back and grab my circle tool, drag it out. Let's call it a 3-foot radius, drop it there, go back and grab my Extrude push-pull tool and drag this up to whatever height I feel is right. And there you go. It's a very simple table. I could spend a lot of time going through and trying to cut legs into it and do this and do that, but this really gets you very far in terms of visualization. This is really starting to look like a room. It went from a 2D plan to a 3D plan very quickly and easily, and honestly, it doesn't have to be more complicated than this. Simple shapes, put in 3 dimensions, and there you go, that's it. Congrats! You have graduated from the Kathartic Studios School of SketchUp! That wasn't so bad, right? Now have some fun and choose a room from your house to model. Or you could also start with a standard size, like a 10 by 8 bedroom, and fill it up with some furniture. The possibilities are literally endless, which is what I love so much about this stuff. And stay tuned for part 2, where I will do a complete start to finish deep dive designing my brother's basement, as well as an overview of some floor plan changes I have slated for my own house. Until then, happy designing!